This video is brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world. They are also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage with microgrid solutions.
Hello and welcome back to another out of spec reviews video, and welcome to the Mercedes. Holy shit. Welcome to the Mercedes EQE 350 Plus SUV. There's a lot of letters and numbers with Mercedes products nomenclature, but this is their mid-size luxury SUV, not the premium ones like the four-wheel drive 4MATIC or even the 500 4MATIC or even the AMG one. We've tested all those. This is kind of the base model. Price is tested at $88,000, so is it really a base model? And yeah, I'll give you a little tour of the car. We'll talk about the test. Let's jump into everything, but welcome to Wellington, Colorado, where we do all of our lovely range tests. So this is a beautiful day for testing. We have some clouds in the sky, but notably no wind. I am not using any microphones to film this, which means, yeah, I can only get away with that when there's absolutely no wind. And the temperature is about, let's see, 62 degrees. We should see a high in the mid 60s, maybe upper 60s possibly, but I'm filming this actually during the middle of the day, so this is optimal conditions, actually the identical conditions of when I did the EQE SUV. I think it was the 500 4MATIC or something like that. Again, they're naming the stuff is ridiculous, but this is the car. What do you think of the SUV styling? I don't know, the EQE is okay. I think it's one of the lesser offensive EQE models, but I don't love pretty much any EQE design language. I hope they make some changes. It's just very bulbous and weird. This is optioned with the optional 21-inch AMG wheels, which are 265/40. These are Eagle F1, so it looks like their actual summer tire, I think, which is, nice and fun and sporty, even though this is not a very sporty SUV. 215 kilowatt power. I believe it's a rear wheel drive. It's a permanent magnet motor. That equals about 288 horsepower, and I think just over 400 pound-feet of torque. So decently torquey. Now, if you up to the 4MATIC, the all-wheel drive one, you still have the same actual horsepower of 215 kilowatt, just split between two motors, I guess. And that's with the 350 one. Now, if you go up to higher models, you can get more power. So the four-wheel drive version of the 350 does give you more torque because of the two motors, but still the same, I guess, limited horsepower. It seems very limited. Like, it's kind of slow. 0 to 60 in around 6.2 seconds, I think. So still faster than some other EVs out there. It's no real slouch. It's just not quick. It drives like a Mercedes, I guess you could say. We are charging up to 100% state of charge here at our lovely charger in Wellington. What's the condition today? Well, missing some panels on, all of the chargers except for one. So not really great look for a charge point out here. These chargers, I don't know if people take the panels off, or this does get very windy out here, so maybe the wind takes the panels. I don't really know. It just looks kind of terrible, but they work. Notably, all four of these seem to function right now. At least the one I plugged into just functioned immediately. Decently long handshake time with the Mercedes, so that's a bit of a bummer. I don't know if that's a charge point or Mercedes necessarily, but the handshake to connect to the charger took a little while, but it did finally start charging, no problem. And so what we do is we take the car, drive it on the highway, which is right there, until it dies, basically, or almost until it dies. I don't actually have Kyle here with our rescue truck and charging trailer or anything like that, so I'll just do what I did with the other Mercedes, which is drive it down till 0%, 0 miles remaining. We'll see how far it goes. I think the last EQE SUV I tested was about 292 miles, so just a hair under 300. This one, in theory, should do about 300 miles. We're working with a 90.6 kilowatt hour battery. I believe that is usable. I don't actually know the gross number. They don't seem to publish that, but I've seen people reporting around 89 to 91, but officially Mercedes says 90.6 usable, which is the more important number to publish, so I'm not going to be mad about that. And peak charging speed, about 170 kilowatts, not class leading, but also not terrible. So yeah, those are some facts and figures about the Mercedes. Let me show you quick details around it, some things I love, maybe dislike, and then we'll hit the road. So yeah, like I said, the AMG design package, this is where you actually put your washer fluid in, which is hilarious. It looks kind of like the Rivian R2 charging port, actually, if you ask me, which is funny. No front trunk to speak of. In fact, this is officially not user openable per se. Nice glass roof, and has a full-on shade, which is cool. And yeah, just some badging back here. That flips up for the rear camera. Very sleek but ugly bulbous shape, if you ask me. The key itself, totally fine. Feels fairly premium, just like a Mercedes would. And come on. These stupid door handles that don't like to come out when you want them to. It is equipped with the Burmeister sound system, ventilated seats, no massaging seats, which was a bit disappointing for nearly 90 grand, and also no heads-up display, also a bit disappointing. But we do get things like the premium traffic control ADAS stuff, so it does do automatic lane changing, which we'll check that out on the actual drive. We're sitting here at 94%, so we are getting close. But while we're here, I can just show you, we will set the air conditioning to Eco. Now, not Eco Plus, because that actually basically turns off climate control entirely. So not going to do that, but what we do is we set the temperatures between 68 and 72, just depending on the car. Each car is a little bit different. And then we'll get on the highway and set it to 70 miles an hour, GPS verified once we get out there. We also run the car in the most eco-friendly setting, which in this case is Eco mode. Sets the motor to Eco and then everything else to Comfort, which is nice. Not sure if this actually has adaptive dampers. There doesn't seem to be any way to control or set that in the individual settings here. That just seems to be, yeah, steering, ESP, and drive. So no actual adaptive damping. Nice ambient lighting. This kind of weird 3D texture is, of course, an option. Everything's an option. Yeah, it's fine. This is an OLED screen here. Decently responsive. MBUX, if you know and love that. Maybe you don't like that, I don't know. Let us know in the comments what your favorite car software situation is. I will say Tesla and Rivian seem to be slightly leading the charge on that front, but MBUX at least works well. It's just not my favorite design or anything, but it works. It's fine. And you can control literally everything here on the wheel. This side for that screen, this side for that screen. So you start getting used to it. This does have battery preconditioning. We're not going to be routing back to the charger because that would burn excess juice. So we will just be, yeah, navigating as normal. I'll like probably navigate back to Wellington instead of the actual charger here. Otherwise, cup holders. There's a phone charging pad back in here. On the way up here, me and Ryan were driving. Ryan's phone was in here. It lost 10%. It said it was charging, but it lost 10%. I guess due to severe inefficiencies, and it was basically baking. He pulled the phone out and it was so hot. I don't understand why people have these like wireless phone charger ovens where it basically cooks your phone. You need to have active ventilation. Porsche does it right. Some other companies are doing it right. Hopefully Mercedes catches up. Decent storage back there. Definitely decent rear passenger room. Definitely a comfortable vehicle. I do like the actual style and design a little bit, but I don't know, these materials are okay. They're decent. This is injection molded plastic here. It's okay. This is a bit more soft touch and nice. I'll take it. A lot of glossiness, which I don't love. It just collect. No, go away, Mercedes. In fairness, Mercedes helper, just making sure it didn't come out, is decent. But yeah, again, it's glossy surfaces, collect a lot of dust, obviously fingerprints, it would drive me nuts, but hey, if you keep your car clean, maybe it's okay. Paddles for recuperation, those won't really matter in this test, but I'll probably leave them low or off. We just don't really use recuperation with the range test, driving at a constant 70 miles an hour. And yeah, that's about it. What do you guys think of this particular vehicle? I like it okay. I mean, it's comfortable, it drives decently, but it's like, for this price point, there's a lot of things you can get. So maybe you love Mercedes and that's why you buy it. Not sure. Curious, yeah. Maybe it's a discussion to have in some other videos, and hopefully some comparisons soon with some of these vehicles. We're getting into comparing more of our electric SUV offerings here soon. The door pockets do not actually fit a Nalgene, or in this case, an Awala. I mean, you can like stretch it in there, but then you're kind of bending the plastic. So that's a bit of a bummer. But like I said, the Mercedes system actually is decent. Like earlier, I was like, what are my tire pressures? And she read each one individually, and they are completely accurate. We always set the tire pressures to manufacturer recommended, which is 41 front, 48 rear in this case. I will say sound deadening is nice because I close the door and the outside is just gone. So Mercedes does have that handled. Steering wheel feels good. I like that there's stalks. Tesla. I like that there's vents I can control. Tesla. and other people, yeah, why is everyone going to the digital vent controls? No one likes that. If you do, let me know. I'm wrong. But we just dropped from 15 kilowatts to none because we just hit 100%. So let's unplug this baby, hit the road. Okay, we take the beefy CCS cable, unplug it, close the power charge port, put it back into the station, which is missing all of its panels, and heading out. Okay. So, like I said, the cabin has been preconditioning to 68 degrees with Eco. All right, we are ready to head out, hitting drive with this fancy stock. I love it. And 326 miles is what it thinks we can do at 100%. I believe the EPA rating is like 279 or something like that. Don't think we're going to hit 326 miles. But I do think we will exceed EPA. That's a very German thing. All the German cars seem to go over what their EPA is. Maybe it's because a lot of markets are doing WLTP and all those, and so they want to be more accurate to that. I don't really know. Some cars struggle to hit EPA. The Germans don't seem to struggle with that. So we will head over to the highway, merge up to 70 miles an hour, and start the test. I'm going to just be as efficient as possible. Again, climate is set to Eco, not Eco Plus. Driving mode is set to Eco. What's cool is this car actually tells you what the maximum range could be if you change something. So perhaps if I completely shut off climate control or maybe drove slowly, that's the range we could achieve. Now again, we're not even going to achieve that. This is our realistic real world range test at 70 miles an hour constant, just to let you know what you can actually get if you were, say, driving on the highway at 70. But yep, here we are on the odd ramp, easing up to speed with using all 215 of our kilowatts. Actually, probably more like, I don't know, 50 kilowatts. We're not using much of the power right now. But I'm excited to do this test. It's a comfortable car, reasonably damped, even though it doesn't have active dampers, and really fantastic driver assistance. Now, there's a little bit of construction happening right up here, but we should be able to pass this pretty quickly here. So can't quite hit 70 quite yet. Oh, by the way, the Eco mode does have a kickdown switch at the pedal, which you can push back if you need to go faster. Otherwise, it really does reduce your power. We are just sitting out here in the northern Colorado plains, nice and cloudy day. I do have the shade closed, which just helps for a bit more efficiency, not having as much sunlight enter the cabin, so it stays a bit more cooler in here. But it really shouldn't have any issues keeping it cool. Like I said, very nice day outside, about 60 degrees, which is comparable to the test of the other EQE products, actually both the sedan and the other SUV, I believe. We also got through that tiny bit of traffic up front, but otherwise been sitting here at 70 indicated, which is actually 70 GPS verified as well. Now you can see here, this A means automatic lane changing. That's one thing this car is equipped with, which means if we come across a slow moving vehicle, it will just automatically go around it, and then it will automatically return to the right lane. It's awesome, super cool. Even if I manually do a lane change, it'll eventually automatically go back to the right lane because that's how you properly drive. Checking in now from the border of Colorado and Wyoming. You can see the bowl up on the hillside there. So we always check in here with a little state of charge, like 92%. That means probably going to be a long test. We've done, let's see, 19 miles. So yeah, a long ways to go. I do kind of expect the wind to pick up a little bit here, just judging by the radar. We should have almost no precipitation, maybe a couple sprinkles here and there. Still good temperatures, but high 50s, low 60s. Yeah, we'll see. The wind will be a bit of a tailwind, which means also a headwind, so I also have to keep that in mind when I turn around. We usually turn around around 55%. I may actually go till 60%, just to make sure I have enough to fight any sort of headwind coming back. Tailwind will help me, headwind will hurt me. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted along the way, of course, and we will check in at 75, 50, and 25% state of charge just to see our progress. Plus, of course, any turnaround spots and our final wrap up when we get back to the end. But so far, so good. Loving the driver assistance, loving the comfort, loving the quietness. it does ride quite well. Even with these bigger wheels, which means slimmer sidewalls on the tires, still decently riding. But I will say, if you don't have active dampers or active suspension, honestly, just get the Eco wheels with the bigger sidewall and just have a bit more of a plush, comfy ride. I don't know why this has AMG performance wheels on a large, over 5,000 pound SUV that only makes 288 horsepower. You just saw that warning right there. Capacitive wheel is another fantastic piece. Mercedes driver assistance is phenomenal. There we go. Automatic lane change. Did a little chime and sent me over to the left lane. There we go. So yeah, same exact chime on both sides. You might be able to cancel it by hitting that X. I didn't try that. I'll try that in a second just to find out next time. But awesome, automatic lane changing. Now, I will say the last Mercedes I tested tried to automatically lane change into the shoulder. So I had to catch that. So I will say, keep an eye on it. I'm glad it chimes to let you know it's doing something so you can double check it. And we are taking our exit to switch to Highway 80 heading east. That's about 30 miles into the trip. And yeah, only used 11% of the battery so far. There we are. Found the driver assistance screen, which looks really quite nice. And it does show the cars around me, which is cool. And it also shows that you can see that there's a shoulder on the right. So hopefully we don't have any false lane changes into the shoulder. It took a second, but it finally did get over to the right lane. Also, the steering wheel is the best I feel like I've ever tested. Every single part of it seems to be actually capacitive, which is so lovely. There we go, our first official quarterly battery check-in of 75%. Now, annoyingly with the inbuck system, there's no way to actually see your trip statistics on the big screen. Like, why? It's all in this screen and you can't see it while you're looking at driver assistance. So you have to go back over to classic or one of the other ones that will show the screen and then swipe down to, there we go, reset. So we've done 77 miles. That means we're on track for, yeah, about 300. I'm not expecting 300 quite because, again, we have a little bit of a tailwind right now, I think. I'll double check that in a second. So we should have a bit of a headwind heading back. But yes, generally pretty solid, honestly. This thing is just a trooper. Same beautiful scenery that you see in our other typical range tests. And yeah, we've had maybe a little bit of spotty drizzle for like 1 minute and that went away. And actually not as much wind as I expected either. So we're looking at pretty optimal conditions, which means pretty realistic conditions. Nice, love seeing the train out there in the distance. And it even has a locomotive in the middle, which is pretty sweet. A lot of times we see trains out here in Wyoming / Nebraska. I think I'm in actually Nebraska right now. And the car is handling everything beautifully. Lane changes have been pretty much perfect. We've had no weird false lane changing into the shoulder situations. It does not lane change over when there's someone sitting on the shoulder. I wish it did that. That's just like the nice thing to do. And otherwise, mostly good. There's been one time where it came up on a semi and just slowed down instead of lane changing. And I had to just override it and tell it to actually lane change. I don't know why I did that. No explanation. But yeah. Also, I checked the Windy app, which we use to check wind in real time across different locations. And yeah, right now is like a 5 mile an hour crosswind. So very light, not even a tailwind actually, which is, crosswinds are a bit of a bummer because actually there's a slightly negative effect no matter what direction you're going, because it's just blowing at you from the side. So not helping efficiency, hurting it a little bit probably, but I don't know how measurable that really will be. That being said, I'll probably still turn around at about 55% just to make sure I get it back on time. But yeah, otherwise, enjoying the trains and the scenery as per usual, and glad it's kind of a cloudy day. The climate control, even on Eco, is keeping me cool. I've noticed on extremely hot days with Mercedes systems, sometimes the Eco climate doesn't cut it. This does have heated and cooled seats, like I mentioned, but we don't run those in these standardized tests because, yeah, just keep it fair for those that don't have heated seats. And there's the train with 4 locomotives leading the way. Nice. And here we go, hitting a little dab of brakes, heading into our exit 59, which is Fun fact, I believe the exact same exit me and Kyle used on our previous EQE SUV range test. I was using the EQE SUV 500 4MATIC. Kyle was in the Audi e-tron Q8. Now I'm in the EQE 350 Plus, and we're going to see exactly how it compares. Now, we're not actually on identical conditions. Obviously, every day is a unique day, but the wind is comparable, which is basically low speeds, and the temperature is also very similar. There's maybe 5 degrees cooler today, and we also have, I'm going to say, a tiny bit more wind. So we'll see if that has a noticeable effect. But yeah, going to be very curious to see how these cars compare. Now, what would be really interesting to me is if somehow Mercedes could send us 2 simultaneous vehicles. I would love to test the EQE 450 Plus and also the EQE 450, sorry, the EQE 350 Plus and also the EQE 350 4MATIC side by side, because those both have the same horsepower, 215 kilowatts, 288 horsepower, but one uses one motor to do it, one uses 2 motors to do it, and the difference in power is actually difference in torque. I'd just be curious to see if those really have, you know, does the all-wheel drive really have a negative effect on efficiency? But we are turning around. We have 134 miles back to go to our destination. We've done 130 miles. That only equals 265, which is not, I'm assuming it'll go further than that, but we'll see. You know, who knows? We have a 4% on arrival is what it's guessing. One annoying thing I found out about the actual system is that if you turn off charging stops, which I do so that it won't automatically route to one, then it won't actually tell you the state of charge on arrival. I wish those could be independent, separate things. But we are easing back up to 70. By the way, the kickdown switch almost won't let you do it. You have to actually resume cruise control to bring up to 70. We're gonna let this guy get over, switch places, and then we'll continue on our journey. So I'm rewarding my turnaround with a snack. This is a new thing. It looks like a Pop-Tart, but it actually is like a protein bar. So Mom, if you're watching, I'm eating healthier than usual, because usually I would just love a Pop-Tart right now. But yeah, some protein would be nice. And honestly, I should just throw it in this little toaster oven here, throw a wireless charging phone right there, let it heat this whole area up, and that will cook your Pop-Tart. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's worth testing. But yeah, we'll check in just shortly here when we hit 50% state of charge as normal. Here we are, 50% state of charge, and we have done 147 miles, which is pretty great. We are on track for, yeah, what's that math? 292.4, which is right about pretty close to the other EQE SUV I tested. So that's to be expected. However, I think I turned around at exit 59 back there at a lower state of charge than when me and Kyle initially did our test last time. So we'll see if that actually turns out, but the state of charge on arrival has walked up from 4 to 5% just in the past 5% of driving. So I do expect that to maybe go up even further. I think we might even have a tiny bit of a tailwind now, which is interesting. That means the wind actually turned around, which is hilarious. It is still very light, like we're talking 5 miles an hour, so very, very little difference. But we'll see if these conditions make this test noticeably different from the other EQE SUV. Like I said, we are doing everything basically identically, so the only real difference is the exact weather temperature, which is also not very different. Like, it'd be one thing if it was like one's winter, one's summer, but yeah, that's interesting. Also, I think this dash is growing on me. I still don't like it as much as the matte finish wood that was in the other EQ I tested. That felt really nice. This one's a bit too glossy. Actually, earlier I should have filmed it, but the sun was like glaring off of it just enough to where it was kind of in my face and annoying, and also was hard to see the screen at that point. I will take this over the hyper screen. I think that's just cheesy and ridiculous. There we go, automatic lane change. Thank you. Anyways, I like this implementation of the MBUX system more than the whole giant hyper screen thing. This is pretty nice. I like that the climate controls stay down there, but I do wish they were physical buttons. So that's my question of the day. Okay, now it's automatically lane changing back without passing. Sure. My question of the day is, would you rather have physical climate control buttons in your vehicle? Do you currently have touch buttons and you're annoyed with it? Do you think the vents being controlled by the screen versus physically controlled is a big deal? Let me know how you feel about the climate control situation, either in your vehicle or your ideal vehicle. Wyoming, and I just missed it, but the car tried to do a lane change onto the shoulder. So it did finally do one of those erratic lane changes, but yep, finally back into Wyoming, and oh, now lane centering is messing up a little bit. I don't know. Mostly this car is fantastic, but every once in a while something just freaks out the driver assistance, but still a very, very good driver's assistance. I feel very confident behind the wheel, confident in the car. It always tells me when it's doing something like a lane change, so I was able to catch the shoulder one way before it actually did it. Like it beeped and I was like, what are you doing? And it's like, hey, can I go over there? And I was like, no. Anyways, also this thing, terrible. Do not buy that fake healthy Pop-Tart. Just get a real Pop-Tart, deal with the consequences. Anyways, we are entering the lower third of the battery pack now, and our efficiency, I forgot to report on that earlier, although you can probably clearly see it, kind of mid to low 300s watt hour per mile, which is just under 3 miles per kilowatt hour. That is notoriously, or notably less than the other EQE SUV, but I do want to point out that the SUV I tried out before, the 500 4MATIC, was on aero wheels, whereas this has the like AMG wheels. So I think that actually plays a noticeable difference, and it seems to be doing that as well today. All right, checking in. It has taken us exactly 3 hours to get down to 25% state of charge. That is a lot of driving. So our efficiency is 350-ish watt hours per mile. That's been oscillating a little bit. Definitely had a little bit of elevation gain and descent, which is kind of undoing what we did on the way out there. Also a little bit of a head/crosswind, roughly, I don't know, 7 to 10 miles an hour. So there is a little bit of wind, a little bit noticeable. Plus, like I said, the non-aero wheels, I think, do definitely have an impact. And they're really not necessarily eco-minded tires. They're a bit more performance-oriented tires, which again, I don't know why you'd get those on your base model EQE SUV, but hey, to each their own. So we've done just over 200 miles on 3/4 of the battery. So we are slated to get, I don't know, high 200s, which is no surprise. So yeah, I don't think we'll hit the 300 miles that we saw with the EQE SUV with the aero wheels, but probably somewhat close. I can bet we will hit at least the EPA, which I think was, 279 or so, and that's pretty impressive. I don't think you necessarily need a crazy range monster with this one. Obviously, there's the EQS vehicles, which seems to have more range. They do have bigger batteries. But this one, 5,000, 200 or 300 pounds. Definitely not the lightest thing, not the smallest thing, not the most compact. Only using a 90 kilowatt hour battery. I say only, but there are, plenty of vehicles with much bigger batteries, such as the Q8 e-tron. So that's honestly totally fine. It's anticipating a 2% arrival. I do think that might go up as well when we do head, back down into Colorado. There also might be a little bit of traffic in that construction zone, which we saw, so that could affect it a little bit. Now, we do typically end the test with some slower driving just because we're on frontage road, so that might be the same type of driving, just instead of on a frontage road, on the highway. We'll see when we get back down to the actual end, but yeah, looks like I turned around probably at a pretty good spot. Solid region on the corner, heading back to I-25, which will take us back to Wellington. I do expect that I will have to go a little bit past the exit just because, I'm scheduled to arrive with 3%, which is, I don't know, another 10 miles or so. We'll find out. But yes, about to merge back onto the highway, ease up to 70 miles an hour, which is easier to just hit resume on the cruise control because the kickdown switch is yeah, it's a little twitchy. It's like, won't quite let you get to 70, and then if you kick down, it'll take you right past 70. We are entering back into Colorado with 10% state of charge. There's the buffalo on the hill signifying the border, and just about 250 miles into this range test. So I'm gonna venture to guess 285-ish. We'll see. Rough guess, although fairly educated guess at this point now. But I'll just let you know when we get to the end. Beautiful mountains in the distance. I do love Colorado and Wyoming. Absolutely stunning out here. And still, temperatures have dropped a bit. We were down to 48 degrees outside, which is definitely a noticeable drop. So yeah, could be a little bit of a lower temperature compared to the last EQE. And also, I think the wheels do make quite a bit of a difference. A little bit of rain droplets, but the road is still dry, so I don't expect that to really have any effect. And wind, I just checked, still basically nothing. Attention assist, it's telling me to take a break and drink coffee, apparently. Joke's on you, Mercedes. I've finished this long ago. Yeah, I guess that comes up after, let's see, I have to go back to a different screen just to see the stats I want. I wish there was more customization with exactly how the screens could be configured, but I don't know, 3 hours and 45 minutes maybe? Or I don't know how that's actually calculated. Maybe it's like various driver inputs. Maybe it's me not inputting enough, not fast enough. I'm not sure how that's calculated, but we are getting down to single digits percents. This is now turned yellow. Still no like turtle mode. I think that comes way later on if my memory serves me right. But yeah, we've settled in right around 348 watt hours per mile. So definitely a little bit worse efficiency than the other one, which we've already discussed at length. But yeah, honestly, my thoughts so far after nearly 4 hours in this car, incredible driver's assistance. It's really been insanely solid. No, like maybe 1 or 2 lane changes where I was like, what are you doing? Let me take over. And then one kind of construction zone where we were still able to keep our full speed, 70 miles an hour, but the cones were just over the line. So I had to keep telling it like, hey, don't hit a cone. So maybe full self-driving would do better in that situation, but zero phantom braking, which I can't usually say about a Tesla system. So honestly, a capacitive wheel carries a lot of weight in my opinion. I wish Tesla would jump on that bandwagon. There we go, passing our normal exit at Wellington, and we have 7% state of charge. So we are going to continue on and do a loop around. It's saying about 21 miles of range, so I'm going to try to drive about 10 miles and turn around, maybe just under 10 miles. I think there's a couple exits I have that will let me do that. And it's currently saying 2% arrival if I go to the next one, which is in 6 miles. So that may be the move. I'll double check. I can always take this frontage road right up here as well, which we often do. So yeah, we are 262 miles back to the charger, and there's the automatic lane change. Thank you very much. Really do love that feature. Turning around, yeah, so the in-car navigation wouldn't let me remove charging stops and keep the state of charge upon arrival guesstimate. I wish it did. Other cars let you do that. Okay, easing back up to the highway, had to manually navigate, but we've got about 10 miles left to the charger on 5%. That should be easily doable. I do expect to have to hit the actual, what do you call it, side roads a little bit to actually make it work. Oh, and there's the reserve level charge high voltage battery warning, again dipping below 5%. So we'll have a quick frontage road blast, I think, to use the last little bit, but we are nearing the end. Wow, this is pretty wild. So right at the very end of the test, the wind seems to be really picking up. So it's all the way down to 1% now, and I'm still on the highway. Granted, I'm not quite at 70 miles an hour because traffic is also picking up. So it looks like we're ending this right at the perfect time. We have about 1.5 miles left to go to the charger, and the juice is shrinking away, but we'll definitely make it, and we'll see if I have any juice left to do a tiny jump down that little side road there. But yeah, you can see the power limitation. That's what that little beam of light means on that side. and we are just about to hit the EPA estimate for this car. There we go, 279 miles EPA estimated. This is impressive because not many cars, like I said in the beginning, hit EPA at highway speeds. Usually that is somewhat of a mixed driving situation. Now I don't know if Mercedes has done the 2-cycle or the 5-cycle test on this particular car. Haven't looked into that. But yeah, time to definitely get off the highway and hit some lower speeds as we drain the last little bit of this battery pack. There we go, got the drive power reduced, turtle mode at basically 2 miles remaining, and still 1% state of charge. Gonna go ahead and do a U-turn here. By the way, this is equipped with the rear wheel steering, which makes for an extremely tight turning radius, which I can demonstrate right here. Wish I could just throw the drone up in the air, you know? But yeah, turns on an absolute dime. That is insane. Rear wheel steering, if you've never experienced it, highly recommend checking that out. But here we go. We should be able to do one more stint down. Going to drain it another mile or so, and we'll see how far we've gone. The annoying thing is this does hide your trip stats, and like I said, there's no access to the trip stats on the center screen that I could find. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. We don't get everything right on this channel, but I do want to mention, by the way, I'll just hit 0% right there. This car does do okay with power. I don't feel like it's, you know, I'm up here at 50 miles an hour at 0% state of charge. Many other cars, I'm looking at you, Volvo, Polestar, get dangerously slow at this low state of charge, whereas Mercedes does let you keep at least city momentum. Now, if I was trying to jump on the highway right now, it would still technically get me up to highway speed, just very slowly. But around town, the city, it's really not too bad. So down to 0%. 1 mile remaining, we should see that tip over maybe to 0, but I have just about nothing left. It is officially time to call it quits. Now, I don't know exactly if there's a buffer way below 0, but none of the other Mercedes we've tested, we've gone like far below 0, and typically with the German vehicles, 0 is 0. So I don't want to push this and get stranded. Once again, I don't have Kyle with his truck and a special charger or anything like that. In fact, he's in France, so he can't help me if he tried. But we are pulling in here to our charger, and we'll film a quick wrap up in just one moment. And there we go, just as we pull in, 0 miles remaining, and it feels really slow right now. Like, I hope I can reverse into the charger type slow. This is really pretty. Oh, there's nothing left. Like, it wouldn't even let me get up to speed on the frontage road out there, I guarantee it. So, backing into the charger. Fantastic cameras, honestly. Some cars also struggle with that, but yeah, just wish this would go away. Here we have it, the final results. 282 miles with an average of almost exactly 3 miles per kilowatt hour, aka 338 watt hours per mile, so just a hair under 3 miles per kilowatt hour. And it took us just about 420 to run that. So, what are your thoughts? I'm pretty impressed. You know, beating EPA is good, and honestly, what we expected. I kind of thought it might go further, but then early in the test, I forgot to mention the fact that, you know, we didn't have the aero wheels that we had in the other vehicle. So, basically, the 500 4MATIC went exactly 20 miles further because of the aero wheels, I'm pretty sure. On the highway, the excess motors and power shouldn't really matter with that one. It's all pretty much the same, the exact same aerodynamics. I think it's like 0.26 or something. Pretty impressive coefficient of drag on this vehicle. So that's it. 282 miles is how far we went. Yeah, that's an ample road trip. I mean, 4 hours on the highway. Most people are ready to stop at that point. At least I am. All right, well, that's all she wrote. Before the wind continues to pick up, I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for watching another Out of Spec Reviews video. Let us know what you think of the EQE SUV and really all of the EQ products. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? Or do you dislike all of them? Or do you like all of them? I don't care. We'll see you down in the comments, and we'll see you on the video very soon. Cheers.